What really keeps a marriage together? Is it love, trust, or just surviving the little daily battles like who takes the trash out? That's exactly what actors Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman have been talking about as they promote their brand new film, The Roses. And honestly, their conversation feels less like a press tour and more like a crash course in how two people can laugh, argue, and still stand side by side after years together. We're diving into their witty exchange, the story behind their movie, and what it really says about modern relationships. Spoiler alert, it's not all candlelit dinners and romance. Sometimes it's dog vomit and bins. At the heart of their new project, The Roses, is a modern twist on the classic War of the Roses, a story about a couple who fall in love, build a life, and then fight over it when things fall apart. But unlike the darker 1989 version starring Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, this 2025 take avoids the extremes of near violence and wild revenge plots. Instead, it focuses on two people, Ivy and Theo, who are very much in love, or at least they were. They move from London to California, raise twins, and then realize that ambition, ego, and money can pull even the closest couples apart. In this new version, Olivia Colman plays Ivy, a chef whose career skyrockets after the move, landing her magazine covers and success that most people only dream of. Meanwhile, Benedict Cumberbatch's character, Theo, struggles as his architecture career falters, leaving him stuck, dealing with nits, tantrums, and a growing sense of failure. It's not about betrayal or infidelity. The two remain faithful. Instead, their clash is about roles, responsibilities, and who gets credit for what in a marriage. And that's something a lot of couples today can relate to. Screenwriter Tony McNamara, who previously worked on The Favorite, says the story is really about capitalism creeping into marriage. In today's world, both partners are expected to not only work, but to excel, to find fulfillment in their careers, and somehow balance that with raising kids and paying for a house. It's a lot. And when one person feels left behind, resentment builds fast. For Theo, success gets poured into his kids, pushing them to become athletic prodigies. For Ivy, success means pride, but also a fear of losing connection at home. Sound familiar? When Colman and Cumberbatch sat down together to talk about their on-screen relationship, their real-life friendship stole the show. Instead of dishing out movie cliches, they joked about everything, from matcha lattes to dislocated shoulders. Colman teased Cumberbatch for being hard on himself, while he admitted he sometimes feels grumpy compared to her joy. The banter between them was so natural that you could forget they were promoting a film at all. It was more like listening to two old friends at a cafe. One of the funniest parts of their chat was how much they leaned into teasing each other. When asked what they hate about each other, Cumberbatch said he hates how predictable he is around Colman, while she always seems 5 steps ahead. But he admitted it with so much affection that it didn't sound like hate at all. It sounded like admiration in disguise. Colman, of course, laughed and said she'd sign him up for a confidence workshop or drag him along on a walking holiday to cheer him up. The way they cracked each other up was priceless. The film's director, Jay Roach, who you might know from Meet the Parents and Austin Powers, said he took on this project partly because he's fascinated by what makes relationships work or fail. He even admitted he once wanted to be a couples therapist. And when you think about it, that perspective makes sense. The Roses isn't just about marital breakdown. It's also about how people communicate differently, especially across cultures. In the film, British irony and sarcasm clash with the blunt, often over-the-top honesty of their American friends, played by Andy Samberg, Kate McKinnon, Jamie Demetriou, and Zoe Chow. This difference between British wit and American frankness became a talking point in their interviews. Colman and Cumberbatch admitted that Brits often show love by being sarcastic or even a little cruel, while Americans sometimes miss the irony. But both agreed the roasting culture in the US has taken things to extremes, with humor that's more brutal than witty. It's a fascinating observation. What feels affectionate in one culture can feel mean-spirited in another. Of course, Colman also brought her signature humor to the table when the topic of swearing came up. She admitted she swears even more in America because she was told not to. In fact, she joked about how shocked her US team looked when she casually dropped the C word in an interview. For her, words are tools, and sometimes a shocking word can cut through the noise. Cumberbatch laughed along, pointing out that swearing often feels like a schoolyard rebellion. It's that cheeky, playful dynamic that keeps their conversations so entertaining. Beyond jokes and swearing, they also touched on parenting, specifically how reading children's books changes once you're a parent. Both were horrified by the hidden messages in classics like the Mr. Men series, pointing out issues of consent and bullying that slipped by unnoticed when they were kids. Colman even suggested turning them into teaching tools, complete with red flags for inappropriate behavior. It was another moment where their chat about a film turned into something surprisingly real and relatable. But here's where it gets really interesting. Both actors are in long-term, happy marriages themselves. Colman with writer Ed Sinclair and Cumberbatch with theater director Sophie Hunter. So when they talk about love, it comes with experience. Do they think we romanticize love too much? Cumberbatch admitted that yes, love is naturally romanticized, but that's okay. Colman, on the other hand, flat out said she loves love. She thinks it's ace to celebrate it. Their answers showed just how differently people can view relationships, even when both are clearly content. Contrast that with their younger co-stars, Sunita and Ncuti Gatwa, who play side characters in the film. For them, love isn't necessarily forever. They argued that society, Disney movies, and 90s rom-coms have trained people to believe in the one, someone who will sweep you off your feet and solve everything. But in reality, dating apps and social media often turn love into a marketplace where individuality and being special are commodities. Their take was more cynical, pointing to how modern culture can set up false expectations. The cast's American friends had their own perspectives too. Kate McKinnon noted that marriage is often framed as a source of happiness, when in reality, it's more about comfort and companionship. Zoe Chow added that she spent much of her adult life trying to unlearn the fairy tales and movie scripts she grew up with. Jamie Demetriou even wondered if relationships are just a habit humanity fell into, rather than something natural. These takes were heavier, but they added depth to the film's themes. Not everyone sees love the same way. So where does that leave The Roses? At its core, it's not just a dark comedy about two people fighting over a house. It's a story about ambition, ego, cultural differences, and the messy reality of long-term commitment. It asks whether love can survive resentment, whether humor can cover up hurt, and whether success has to come at the cost of intimacy. And in typical Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch fashion, the conversations around the film are just as entertaining as the movie itself, full of laughter, honesty, and moments that feel a little too close to home. In the end, maybe the real takeaway isn't about who keeps the villa, who's more successful, or who's funnier. It's about recognizing that relationships aren't perfect, and they're not supposed to be. Sometimes love is mushy and romantic, sometimes it's sarcastic and biting, and sometimes it's just two people clearing up after the dog. For Colman and Cumberbatch, that's what makes it all worth it. And maybe that's why their words resonate so strongly. They remind us that love isn't about avoiding problems. It's about surviving them together, one laugh and one argument at a time.